Thank you everybody for showing up to today's January 23rd, Thursday Field Notes and LegalShield webinar that we do. This is group oriented, and today we're going to talk about uploading some members. Last Thursday was uploading just the groups. Now we'll discuss what I go through to upload members, and hopefully this makes a couple of things clear to you guys and allows you to do the upload as well. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's just a lot of work in some cases, right? So you'll probably have to block some time to make this happen. But you always can, email me, text me, and I can always jump in to help you if you're stuck, right? So let's see if I can explain this clearly to everybody. Now, let me share my screen. All right, so everybody can see my screen. This is Field Notes. Now, this is a download which I just modified, obviously fake numbers, fake emails, things like that. But it is essentially your guys' headers. And if you were to download members, this is the information that would come in, right? So we're just going to use this as dummy information. It could be a lot more. I definitely understand, but the movements, whether if it's 20, 300, it's the same thing. It's just going to take that much more of time to deal with it. So let's let somebody else in. And all right, so make sure. Okay. So when doing this, I think a big challenge is the first challenge is getting the data out of your guys' portal, right? So I've mentioned that I create a file to assist me, and oops, I already have. And this is that file, right? So I call it group work, and it's just a text file. You could use what is it, Word, but if you do copy paste and things like that, and you don't do Control Shift Paste, then it's going to come with all the stuff that it came from the website, and then that's where it's going to, in some cases, look funky, right? So like if you were to come from here and copy all of this and have just this information, that's where you get group numbers and you get the group account numbers, right? Another thing you want to do is you want to show all all the entries, and you can see that in this screenshot. Took a bunch of screenshots. So in this screenshot, this is where you're at your group. You can organize it by like a group name alphabetically, or you can do by group number. I like number, kind of keeps things in order for me at least. So you would basically move this to show 25 entries and basically just do all entries, and that'll put everybody on just one page that you can then highlight everybody, and then you can paste it into this document. You're going to get these dates, right? You'll get these dates. I've never really used them for anything. You might, but at the end of the day, the real important stuff is this. And then you just basically paste it here. Now mine's not in order because I paste it from a different place, but this is just to show the example. But when you organize it from here and then you press the group number, it'll either put the smallest ones up at the top or the smallest ones at the bottom. Obviously, have the smallest ones up at the top and then work your way down. And then that's when you highlight everything and then you paste it into the text document so that you have that record, so that there's some order to it. Because if you've got 75, 120 groups, anything like that, even 50, and then since this takes a lot of time, right, relatively, you might pull away from your desk. So when you come back, you might be like, where am I? So with that, sometimes I will put like a star in the beginning, kind of like a placeholder, just so that if I come back, this is the group that I'm working on and that kind of stuff. So anything that can help you kind of remember, because if it takes you like 3 to 5 minutes to just download the data from Shield at Work and organize it in a way in which then you can begin to manipulate it, you might not have the 8 hours invested to just sit there and to do a bunch. And so I could see people, taking phone calls, having to do stuff in between. So yes, Cassie?
One of and I understand there are times when you want to do all these groups all at once. and do one, one set of downloads and clean up the data and one set of uploads. But is there a reason? Because I mean, I'm thinking about like how I approach it is I do it one group at a time and I don't try to bundle them together. Partially because I like to take bite-sized pieces because I tend to have smaller windows of time, a lot of interruptions. And if I'm operating with just one group as opposed to trying to do multiple groups at one time, I mean, I can see an argument for either approach depending on the situation. But to me, I kind of like to take the baby steps, do one group at a time, and then make sure that everything looks like it worked well before I blow up the universe and do all 25 groups that need updating at one time.
Good, good, good insight. What I can say, this is for people that don't have their groups in their system, right? Because
So
for
this
you,
is the initial upload.
this what I'm giving you is how I would do an initial upload. That's correct.
Got it.
Then to maintain, yes, you can do group by group, right? And I don't see that being a problem. And if it was me, I would probably do it like that. But with this, I have done it where I did it once where it was just one group at a time, one group at a time. And let me tell you, I was doing the same movements that I could have done with everybody just in one big large file, right? And so
Okay, that makes sense.
that's kind of, just to get the job done, get everybody in there. That database will last a good couple quarters, right? Before you need to start doing updates. And then depending on how you get the notifications of new people, whether if you want to do them one by one or if you want to do them in a mass upload, I guess at that point it's just really up to you and, well, I guess your workload, right? Whether if you've got high turnaround or a lot that are coming in, then you're most likely going to want to group as much as you can if it's the same movements is what I kind of come to understand is like if I've already done this, why continue to do it over and over? So that's a little bit of the issue with that. And so but yeah, so this is for people that don't have anything in their system. Last week we did the group accounts upload. Now we're going to do members. And so let me see what else. All right, so having this thing here, this is so that you can copy, you can kind of keep order, you can kind of know what you've downloaded, where you're at, and not have to go back to Shield at work and then click and go back because having you can have multiple of these tables of these websites open on different tabs, but this times out a lot. And then it could get confusing because it doesn't show anything on the tab. It just looks like a bunch of tabs from Shield at work. So I've tried to do a little bit of everything, but I just kind of went to just having one group at a time. And then so this is if you ever needed to reference anything, you don't have to go back and forth and wait, for the page to load. That'll that'll bleed a lot of time. And so yeah, so that's that with getting the data, I guess having this little work pad. And then now I guess you would basically be selecting each account. And let me see if I have another screenshot. And you're going to be going to your accounts one by one and selecting, right, in reports, going to active members, show no dependents. Now, you could do all, but once again, that's going to be a lot of information. You're most likely just worried about the active members. So if you want all members, that's fine, but it will take a lot more time and you'll have to categorize them differently just to make sure some are active. And then if they're pending or canceled, right, you'll have to plan for that, right, with the category. So we're only looking at active members and no dependents. And then once you've selected this submit, it will bring this file. And if you can already see, I've already like on my database, I have 45 of these. And so once you get to this point, this is where you're going to basically be organizing them into a folder, right? So I've got this test data one. This is the folder that I use for group. I have group folder for G, and then I have an M folder for members. And this is where I'll begin to start putting these. Now, I don't have this one labeled as I'm about to suggest, essentially, this is how it should look. So when you download it, you'll see the file in your download and it will look and have this kind of extension. So I wouldn't hit this button right here. I would hit the folder just so that it pulls up where it was downloaded, right? And then you're essentially just going to click it once until you can highlight it and then essentially do that. Now, I don't think it takes all of these spaces. Oh, it's because I have it open. So that's why it won't let me change it. But you can essentially have the group number, one space, the group account, and then you would click off to the side and it would save that. And then you would move it to your folder and then essentially rinse and repeat the process, right? Now, from here is where I get and I copy this and I change the names of the files. And so what that's going to cause is for you to have obviously a sea of files, but this will organize it by the number and it'll keep it in order. So I like that order. I don't know why. Maybe it's a little bit of the OCD in me, but it makes me just see where I am. Since there's a lot of accounts for a lot of people, it just makes it that much more easier for organizing all of this stuff. And so you're essentially going to be spending anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes on just doing that alone, right? And then creating and getting all those files into one file. I figure it's best to do it at all in one because then that way you have things organized and that kind of stuff. Bill?
Yeah, is there a reason that you keep your files? Because when I do my uploads and stuff, I just put them in download because once I upload them, I could care less about them at that point. And when I go and then clear out my download, I wipe everything off the computer.
Um, I mean, I download a lot of stuff throughout the day from a lot of different places. And so,
Yeah, I'm just looking at it from our aspect. I mean, or at least my aspect or perspective when I'm uploading that, the members or whatever to field notes. Once I've uploaded them to field notes, the upload at that point is no longer any use to me. Once I've checked it good. You know, if it's not good, I always go back to it in downloads, do what I need to do. But, you know, next month, if I'm doing an upload of the same group, it's going to be different data.
true, true. So if you wanted to replace, it's like I don't like I save it just because if somebody comes back to me with, oh, the upload was incorrect or this didn't download correctly, then at least I have the file that I use. And if I have to quickly make changes to that to go back to it, right? So that's why maybe I keep that type of order. But I mean, if you feel that you have no need for it, then you can trash can it. I guess that's to each his own in the way. And then again, you got a lot of data, so obviously you do things differently. But I like to keep, and you could always take that same folder with the members and things like that and change the date to it or give it a date so that that's the date that you did the upload. And then I mean, I guess in that, see, because I don't do much continuous, I'll just basically help people understand what they need to do to make the updates change, but I don't do much like updating for people. I've just basically helped people with getting their data in from a clean account. So I guess the best practices when it comes to uploading the data and things like that, I would leave that up to you guys since you guys possibly do that more often. And so if you don't feel that there's no need to keep it, then I guess that's something for everybody to take into
Well, and
consideration.
I can see your point because we're doing actually two different things. You're working with people, whereas myself, it's just my data. I'm using it. I'm done with it. Whereas yours, you're working with people. So yeah, if they have something, you may have to go back to it. So how
Yeah,
you're keeping it was different than what I'm doing as an upload. So I can understand.
but it's interesting to see that once you've done it, you have no need for it, right? For me, for me, I'm kind of like, oh, I might as well just keep it there because then I have to go back into somebody's account and then pull the data. So to save all of that time and I can just go back to the raw files is kind of how I do it. But good insight, right? I'm not saying no to it, but yeah, I'm a
Well, I
little
don't do it right away. I probably clean out my downloads once every few weeks. So it'll sit in downloads for a few weeks and it's named. So if I had to refer back to it next week because something went awry, I can pull it up. But
you can
then,
pull it
a few weeks later, I'm getting those files off the computer.
again. Okay. Understood. Um, so yeah, so that's what I do to kind of create organization. I feel that by having it organized, it makes things that much easier. And then so I guess now we can discuss the file in itself and some of the movements that I have to. So these are all of your headers that come from Shield at Work. They don't necessarily coincide with our headers. So instead of bouncing back between two files, what I'll do is essentially just click one person and then download and do all columns, just the one contact, and get the file. And now I can simply open this file and have access to my headers. And then I'll take this and you can copy it or cut it. Really doesn't matter because you're not going to use this for much other than inserting a line above and pasting. That way you can have all your headers on one page, on one sheet, and you can, obviously you can see there's way more headers on our side than there is for yours, but at least it's relatively quick and you don't have to go back and forth and get dizzy. So some of the things that we need to do is we need to split these ID plan numbers with the LegalShield number. So this one that says the last four Social Security, what I like to do is these two, member number and last four Social Security, and go find these two. And I like to put the legal, the one first for whatever reason. I don't know, call me OCD. And then I will get the ID shield, and you just basically copy them and then put them in the cell right in this two one. Because what we're going to do is we're going to replace and grab all of the ones from Fieldnotes and put them on top of your LegalShield one and basically switch them out. And once you've done that, you can then take this file, obviously use it to upload, but it's going to be recognized and there's no mapping that you have to do, which is going to save you plenty of time later on. And so I'll do the same thing with the last name, last name, last name. Now in this one, it has the first capitals, right? It's spelled identically. In this case, it will recognize. You wouldn't necessarily have to, but for me, I still do it just to kind of know that I've already done it. Like, so this one says address. You could remove the one, right? And you're done. But for me, for whatever, I just kind of like to grab it, put it on top, and know that I've made the changes. So address 2 does look like that one is address 2. And essentially, you're going to do this first, is before making any changes to the numbers, before moving anything around, I like to at least get the mapping out of the way and not have to deal with that. And so call me crazy. The law firm info, I think this one, USA country, we do have for people that haven't made too many changes to their categories, country, but I've had a lot of people express they don't really need to, you know what I mean? They can basically see from the zip codes and the city and state, you know, what country it's in. So they really don't do nothing with this one. And then I think that's where we also changed it to law firm info. So you can always repurpose the category. So this one, I don't think we're going to be using. I guess, I think there's no reason to highlight it. We can just remove it after. And then city, state, Providence. This one obviously is different. So this one is just state. This one is zip. And you're going to do this to all of your categories, making sure that they all line up. Emails, phone numbers. So with the phone number, this one is primary contact. So this first phone slot, this is intended for the cell phone. So I don't know if that's right. If that's the cell phone, then great. But if you can see this person has a home phone, he doesn't have a day or a cell phone, I would assume this is the cell phone, right? I would just make that assumption. So in that, what I would do is keep the cell phone category because that's probably the majority of where all the cell phones are, but I would move this. And so, but that's a later movement. I like to do all of those movements at the end, not really worry about them right at the moment when doing this little mapping stuff. And then let's see what else. So with the date of birth, these dates have been formatted already, but they most likely won't look like this. They'll probably have the year first, then the month, then the date. If that's the case, and you're good with formatting and you can format them with your tools in Excel, amen, more power to you. For me, it's always been a problem. Can't understand why. It takes me hours to kind of get it done and I can never reproduce it and it's never the same. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does. Can't explain that anomaly. So what I do is I simply just take this information, however it comes, throw it into ChatGPT and tell it to change the format to this. And the format that you want to change it to is month, month, day, day, year, 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 year. And that's with slashes. It's not with the dash as it says right there. So I basically just put that with slashes in ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will change all of the dates appropriately. And then you just basically highlight them and then you paste them. You basically have to paste them like this. And then you have to do something which is Control Shift B. It's different. Yeah, not sure why like this now. I don't know if this update, but it'll give you 3 options and you want to use the unformatted one so that it doesn't come with any additional formatting from the website of ChatGPT. And then you would paste it into here and it basically sticks. This is your annual premium. And I think we do have a slot for annual premium. So if you wanted to get that in there, you could. Same thing, basically. Monthly premium, I think we have one for that. And there is going to be something that is going to come up, but I'll explain it when it happens. The plan's description. So this, I would think the best way to categorize this or to add this into the system is not to have it just in a plain text place, but to have it as like a sphere. That way, if you wanted to look at all the family legal / small group, you could. And so in order for that to happen, you have to take a moment, go to your categories and basically paste them in here. And what I like to do is whatever shield at work gives you, I would essentially copy that, put that in here and save it as its own. Let me see if I have a family. I don't think I have. No. So I would save this verbatim. I think I do have an F1, a 1FLB, ID Shield full. Yep, I have that one. Legal plan, I think I have that one. It just says legal plan, that's correct. And then I'm just going down the line. WA family legal. Do I have that one? I don't have that one. Go ahead, Cassie.
So one of the things I encourage everybody to kind of think about and think through how much level of detail you need in field notes on this, because there's, and I don't know if you've ever heard Warren speak, our CEO speak about this, but he was astounded to learn that we have like 7,000 product codes for LegalShield.
Mm-hmm.
And so what Jeremy's doing, I understand the thought process, and there may be a business case based on how you manage your business where you need that level of detail. But quite frankly, I don't know that I need that level of detail in field notes. I just need to know, do they have a legal plan? Do they have identity theft? Is it an individual coverage or family coverage? Do they have CDL? Like, there's top level of product info that I do want to have, but I don't need to know if it's large group, small group. Now, I might want to know that it's a national legal plan versus a regular legal plan. And I definitely would want to know the difference between a legal plan and a CDLP plan. It's that kind of thing. So I would encourage you to really think about what level of detail you need and how granular you want to get here. Jeremy is mirroring exactly what's in the Shield at Work, okay? But I'm telling you, it will make this, I think, way more complex than it needs to be if you go down to that level of granularity. But if that's what you think you need, and I can certainly understand, Jeremy's on the outside looking in, he doesn't really know the details behind all of this. And there are times that we do need to know, which legal plan do they actually have? I can tell by price point what legal plan they have. So I don't need that level of detail necessarily in this product description. And quite frankly, the product descriptions that are in our system aren't always super clear on like, okay, what coverage is that actually? Is it that the, 1595 legal plan? Is that the 1895 legal plan? It's almost like the price points tell us more about what their coverage is in many cases than the plan description that we're dealing with here. I don't know what Bill's thoughts or anybody else's thoughts are on that, but that's just my personal opinion. And so, certainly don't take it as anything other than that. But it can get very complex very quickly if you're taking it verbatim from Shield at Work.
Just to add something before I let Bill go, Luz. I essentially am just showing you, right, in general what it is, but everybody that I speak to, I basically inform them less is best and it'll be easier for you. And then there's some things that I say, yeah, I don't see people really kind of saving this information. I try to give you best practices that I see amongst a lot of the people. So this, even though it is extra, I'm just showing you for the sake of showing you, just in case you did want to have it. But if you didn't want to have it, oh my God, this would be, one less thing to have to map and to deal with. And so it would make your life that much more easier if you didn't have to get to this granular. But I'm just showing you so that if you wanted to have it, then of course you could, right? So go ahead, Bill.
I agree with Cassie. If you don't need it, don't have it in there. The only reason I leave them in there, because I have a lot of 1595s from very old accounts, is it becomes a pain to go in and change everything in the spreadsheet when I download it. So if they're in there and I can match them, it just identifies it. That's fine. It just makes it easier for me. But things like law officer's legal plan, if you don't sell it, take it out of your thing if you don't sell it. It's one of the ones I do a lot of, so I have in there. The CDLP plus plan or super CDLP, I don't sell. That's one I'm going to be deleting out of mine. I'm going to go through and clean them up because if you don't sell it, it's nothing you do. You're just wasting your time having it in there, cluttering your system. So, I agree completely. And with the
Less is
ID
best.
Shield, I tell corporate, I sell ID Shield wrong all the time anyways, because I can't keep up on the changes. I've got ID Shield from so many different plans. It's like, we protect your identity. We restore it. There you go.
And it's a good moment to think about, like, what is it that you want to use with this information that you're uploading? What is it that you want to do? Do you just want to know who active members are and then send out like a retention campaign? If that's what you just want to do, and then, have them so that when they go pre-cancel, you can send them out, hey, go pre-cancel. Or if you want to, I've seen Bill, you've said some things, I don't know, like when things are going to change, you want to tell them about the price change, and if they go to bank draft, then they'll get the better pricing, right? Those are things that you would want to obviously have your people in your system so that you can just send one big email out and get everybody, onto the same, and hopefully they see it as, wow, thank you, Bill, for, telling me about that, making it that much more affordable. And then so if it's those kinds of things that you just want for pure communication, then legal plan number, obviously name number, like group number, like you won't need so much information to be saved and be mapped into the system. You could do with a whole lot less, which would make your uploading data and maintaining that data just that much easier, right? So
Right. Well, price points are important for me because, like I said, in my pre-cancels, it'll tell them this is the price you're paying for legal, this is the price you're paying for ID Shield. If you were to let it go and come back in at the retail, you could be spending up to $59.95 a month. So I like them to see that visual. Wow, I'm spending $35.90 versus 60. No, I'm not going to let it go. I'm trying to use that as a pain point to keep them in there.
there you
So
go.
they get the paper, so they get the document done and sent back to me. But then also the follow-up emails, yeah, it's kind of important because if they have the legal plan, I send them a few emails during the year that's going to have some helpful tips on the legal. If they have ID Shield, then I send them an email that has helpful tips on ID Shield. and things like that. So
So I guess we can leave this alone, but essentially that's what you would want to do. You wanted to map these. You just want to, I think it's easier to match to what Shield at Work is because it'll save you time later. But if you don't want to map it, you don't necessarily have to, and that will definitely make your day go a lot smoother. Um, pay period, pay period amount. You can always obviously find the field that we have. I think this one is pay period amount. So that one is, and then that one's pay period. So in all reality, those ones should map on their own just because they're verbatim. Yep. And then group division, I don't see these. Production date, effective date. I do see a lot of people go after those dates. Only trick here is obviously having them formatted correctly so that they stick. And I do think there is these ones, verbatim, production date, effective date. What was the other one? Cancel date. I think that one is also there as well. Cancel date. Is this one pre-canceled? This one says pre-canceled.
Honey, I'm in a meeting.
And then
Yes, but I'm trying to listen to the meeting.
and pending IDT. I'm not sure what that stands for, but I'm sure if we so like I said, there is. If you did need it, you could use a different, you could take one of these that you don't use and of course use it. But I don't see people really doing anything with this one. This one's status. That one we do have. It just has a hashtag in front of it. And not to get that confused with this status one, which has different categories and it's a select one. So that's totally different. There is a field for that one. It just has a hashtag in front of it. It's status. This one has been used for, so this is just because I used it for something else as well. So you can always put a slash and multi-purpose it if you wanted to keep, but now we essentially have all the fields that we need. We've got like the mapping. Now there's the movements in which it's basically putting all of these, if there's any doubles. So there's an instance where this one's a double, and I think there's only just one, but you will most likely find a lot more people with both plans. And so you're going to have this multiplied by a bunch. You'll see why it takes time to really kind of adjust this. So once we've essentially mapped all the things that we need and we have all of our categories to the top one, we can basically now delete this one and we can delete the row. We no longer need it. Now we can just make some movements like these ID shield numbers, right? These ones that are 7 can't be here because obviously you're going to show up in the legal plan. You do want to check to make sure that this is not like this person or it's a duplicate, because if it is, it needs to be on the same line. But if it's one of these, that means this person just has that plan alone. So you would cut it, move it over, paste it. For this one, you would cut it and put it on that one line. And since these are all ones and start with 1, they most likely can stay as it is. And I only have these 2 as examples, but you will most likely have a lot more cases of this happening in your system. And so you're going to have to basically just keep an eye on it in the sense of compare, make sure that you don't accidentally. So this is where, having a quiet place, quiet time to get these little movements done is best, because if you're going back and forth, with stuff, talking to people, you could get real confused real quick. And then with a mistake, obviously you might not catch it. And then there's that problem. So if you have things like this one where there is no data and fields that you're not going to capture. Okay, so before doing that, let me explain something. So before deleting any columns, right, you just mapped everything basically. What I would do is if I had another group, let's say I had 10 of these files, now that you've mapped this data out, you could open up another file to another group. And I like to put a little bit of a space and then paste it. That way I can kind of see, okay, this is one group, this is the other one. And you're most likely going to want to add at the end your group number, right? Some of the fields in our system. So I already was the Excel, still got it. So So this one I would grab, and I would just put it at the end. And then if you wanted to do some mapping, like the sales cycle status and the status, and those categories are the following. So if it's like a prospect, DM, that kind of thing, most likely since these are all active members, you'll label the sales cycle status for the groups as servicing, and then in the status, if they're all the same, which here I have a little bit of it broken down, but let's say for you, you just have active member, right? Then you can basically give everybody that category as an active member. But if you do break it down, well, then you'll have to find the category for each one that best fits. Now, why would you have this opposed to this? If you have specific action plans that you want to communicate specific things based on their plans, then having this type of breakdown would allow you to do that, because then you could set up action plans based off of these categories. But if you all have it grouped into one, well, then your action plans would have to be more broad, generic, that kind of thing. So that's the nuance with that. But if you did, you would essentially map those fields at the end of your file, and you would do your status if you wanted to. And you can, do your group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, copy again. I don't know why it's like this, but there you go. Now you have your group. So these will all show up under the same group number. And essentially, once you have like another group you want to add to it, you're essentially just going to grab this information, right? And let's just say this is a new file, and you're going to copy it and then just put it here. And you're going to have sets of these, right? These are going to be all different kinds of groups. And this is what I do to do this whole thing in just one big chunk. You can
When do you add the company name and the group number to the file?
every time I do one at a time, I'll go through and set up the group number. Oh, that's right. Company name. Company name is a good one to have. Where is that? Gets code. There it is. Company's a good one.
One quick note, Jeremy, is if in a lot of people's letters they send out, you put salutation, like hello and then salutation, make sure you add the salutation field there and move their first name over for that individual. Unless in your letters with mine, so I don't have to do it, I just put hello, and the at field I use, the auto insert, I do first name. But I know some people do salutation always.
So the way that the custom that I have seen, because it's not something that I thought up of, is for the groups, the group name will be here that's why this one says first name or group name. So for group accounts, the group name will be here. And then in the salutation spot is where they'll put the first name to the person, what is it?
HR director, whoever your contact person is.
The point of contact in there. And then so for your group template emails to speak to all your groups, those emails you would want to use the at salutation smart tag opposed to the first name, because then it's going to say hello ABC Plumbing instead of the person that you want to address it to. So thank you.
Jeremy, this is Deborah.
Yes.
Sorry. Why aren't those two separate columns?
Which ones?
Why isn't there a column that says first name and a column that says group name instead of first name or group name?
That's something how this was just kind of like I don't know who was the one that did that in the beginning. If it was Jackie, if it was Keck, if it was.
I think it was Jackie, and it was because we were trying to accommodate both individuals and groups in one setup.
But why do I do like it, right? And this is when you're going back to so like right here, you're looking at all your contacts, right? These are all members. At a glance, I can just see that they're members, right? And then you walk into where you have a bunch of account names, right? These are all business names. So for me, this would say just at a glance, this is a group account. Now, I don't know whether if it's active until I open it and take a look at the stuff, or if I add columns to have those things visible, right? I'm trying to think what the column, the status one. Sales cycle status. You see spheres status. What's the other one? There's like a hashtag setup status.
What's the difference between sales cycle status versus just status?
Status is a field that you guys, and it says active, canceled, or right. It gives like a status of like what the account is.
It's the member status.
The members.
So a member status is active, canceled, pre-canceled, whatever their status is. The sales cycle status is where are you in the sales process with the prospect?
Like prospect versus.
Yeah.
Again, some of this is difference between individual versus group level, but you might say they're an active member. So that's where they are in the sales cycle. It's a little redundant, so you could use either or both.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And then so that's what the status, right? These are all the different statuses, or you could just have it as like a member active. Now, what is it? There is a little bit of redundancy, but what this helps you do is if you wanted to basically just filter all your prospects, filter every prospect under just that button. And then, well, under that bucket, opposed to if you had prospects and then if you had network prospects, new associate prospects, group prospects, you could have a breakdown so that you could see different types of prospects within your major prospects. And then you can have views set up so that you don't necessarily have to filter this all the time. You can just go back to maybe have like a prospect folder. And then within that prospecting folder, you have all the different prospects that you need to, look at and stay on top of. And then you could go to the views, click just your new associate prospects and have just those people that you're obviously working with. And so a little bit of redundancy, but it also helps with creating views to be able to kind of look at this data. And if you had action plans, you could set off specific action plans for group prospects opposed to network. You wouldn't be saying the same, you wouldn't be having the same kind of conversation and things like that. So if you don't see yourself doing that, well, then you can be a little bit light on this type of categorizing, basically. But if you did want to have that, well, then this would be a good foundation for you to be able to set that up for yourself. So that's essentially why there's such a breakdown when it comes to the category. And then so where was I? And so yeah, so that's I guess that question. And then so I think somebody asked me where would I be putting in, at what time would I be putting in? So this is the first one, right, that we started to look at. I would set up the group account number. I would put this where it is, if it's a servicing, the status, and then the company name, I would put that. And then I would open up another one, paste it into here, and do the same, add the account number. Now that's where this sometimes I felt comes in real handy, is this little thing, because if you're going from your file and this order is the same order that you have in your group, in your member, yep, it'll be in your member folder. You'll have like a sea of files. It'll be in order, right? And then that way it just kind of keeps things, and then you don't have to kind of click the file to get access to that info. You just have it here to where you can copy it, and then you can take it over here and paste it, whether if it's a group number, and then whether if it's the company name, and then you can drag that down, this one. And I would take the time as you're building this file. It may seem like it's taking up a lot of time putting all of this together. However, once you've done that, then this one big file with all of your groups is what's going to get uploaded. So there is no limit to the amount of accounts that you put in and that you upload all at once. And for me, yeah, you can do it one by one, but if you're already like in the groove, you might as well just spend the time, focus, get as much as you can, and then just push it up, right? And then so that's something that you would want to do. Now, when it comes to with these ones and moving these over, you also want to consider, like with this one, if you're dealing with this, you would basically also be putting this one here. So you would have to, I guess, cut it and then use the pipe in order to add another sphere to it. That's if you're adding spheres, multiple spheres, and then paste it into one field. And then now you have both descriptions. And when this gets uploaded, it'll have both of those, but that's up to you. When it comes to the pricing, right? What I've seen, because there's only obviously one monthly premium, some people have said that they would just cut this and put like a slash and paste it in like that. And to them, that was fine. That was enough for them to know the different pricing. Like Cassie said, she can just look at the pricing and know what they're getting, right? So that's if you didn't want to lose one or the other, or if you're not mapping it, well, then you really don't have to bother with it. But I think everybody likes to have the pricing because it helps them a lot just at a glance, know what they have and that kind of stuff. So I would do this, right? Obviously, to get this all on one line. The dates, you don't have to. These ones are most likely the same date, but sometimes the dates do change a little. And unfortunately, I don't think there's any way to have these two dates. You would have to basically settle for the other one or like pick one. And then, yep, I don't think anything else needs to be consolidated other than those things. And so what you would do at the end is basically go through these ones and just delete them. You would delete these so that now you have no duplicates, because if you did by accident have a duplicate or leave it there, it's going to show up at the end file where it says what has been accepted, what hasn't been accepted. And so that's going to be something that you're going to have to look at and deal with. But with this, that's something that you have to pay a little close attention to just to make sure that you get them all. And if there's, a good couple hundred lines, then I could see how that gets confusing. So if you wanted to, highlight a row if you're leaving to go do something just to know where you're at, and I would definitely do that, because if you don't and you forget where you are, then that could be a pain in the butt. But yeah, and then I'm trying to think if there's any other thing. Oh, here, these are some things that I would be cleaning up. These things, I wouldn't see why anybody would want. And sometimes I also see just zeros in these fields. I would clean that stuff up. So the best way that I've seen that I do to clean that kind of stuff up is just do this and then unselect all, and then just for this row, clean that up. I guess in this this little break is going to not allow you to do that completely to the full list. So you would probably have to delete those or not use them and then just have them next to each other. But doing this is big. And go back to, and then doing that for this one and cleaning all of this stuff up, I feel is huge, because then you're going to have, so if you wanted to filter things by, do they have a number or they don't have a number? So empty or not empty. If you leave these extra zeros in there, not only do I think because it shows up here as a zero, that it's going to error out. And so when you go to upload this file, you're going to have a bunch of errors with these that you're going to have to delete manually within our system. So it would be best that you just deal with that now and not import that over and then have to go through a bunch of files and have a bunch of busy work. Because I think that at some point, depending on how long it could take, that might time out and then it might not work. And so for you to be on some, timer, I don't think that anybody wants to have that kind of pressure. And so deleting all of these, I would spend the time to do so. Also removing
what are the columns again that we need to format? The date of birth and what else?
Date of birth. When doing,
is it all the date columns or just the date of birth?
All the date columns.
Okay.
Every date column has to be month /
day, year. Yeah.
And then the full year.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to format other than the dates? As I'm just making notes on my instructions.
These names, I don't know how you guys like them. They come as capitals, right? You wouldn't
So
necessarily...
case formatting on names and then all the dates.
Case formatting. I take this to ChatGPT and tell it to give me I guess, what is it? Lowercase, all the letters, but the first
I think they call it,
but I give it an instruction.
Title formatting or something like that. I forget what they call it, but yeah.
Yeah, I just worded out what I need. Like give me the names with no middle initial, and then usually when it pastes them back in order, it'll give me just the first one capitalized, the rest lowercase, no middle initials. And so that's kind of how I deal with that in a large scale. Now with ChatGPT, you can't do, like if this was a list of 400, 500, you can't do the full list of 400, 500. I think you could do like 100 at a time. So you'll have to figure out its breaking point and then just do that in that increment. But I use ChatGPT for that kind of stuff. But that's something, if you care, I see a lot of people with the same and they have no care, right? So it is what it is. It's just really, if it depends, if it bothers you, then it bothers you. If it doesn't, well, then you can leave it as it is. But at least like with these things like John Christopher M, I don't know, if you guys would just want to leave John and not have the full name kind of thing, that's up to you guys. But that's something that you can clean out. And then so once you've done all of these movements, now you can kind of delete the columns that you don't need. I'm not sure why there's 2G. Now there's 2Fs. Okay, so I guess it was just something stuck on stupid. Let's see what else. Is it the country one? And now that you're doing this, it's going to do it for everybody else as well, and everything kind of shifts over. So that's why I wouldn't do this first. I would do this at the end. And I don't think there's anything else. I think, oh, these ones, we can say adios. And if there's any information in these ones. And now that you've kind of cleaned up the columns, essentially now you could basically grab this file with all the headers, of course, and you can take this into, I like to copy it, and I like to use the copy paste method, just in case something goes wrong. You don't have to go back to the file, open up the file, fix and edit, save the file, then come back to here, find the file, and to do all of that. With this copy and paste, you just basically backtrack, always set this to tab because we're pulling it from an Excel. And now you can see this is the header. So that's all that this is asking, is which one of these rows has the header information. We can hit next, and we can see that all the fields that we were looking for are just mapped. It's not something that you have to go do yourself. A trick that I've picked up on too is if you scroll down through this and you see that how it highlights this one, what this is saying is that this one has not been mapped yet. So select a column, obviously, but this one where it says date of birth. So most likely I did not change. I think this one just says birth date. So past it. Yeah, so it's up here somewhere. Birthday. There it is, birthday. So if that was the case, that let's say you just forgot to map it correctly, you could simply go to here, and birth date will then be mapped with the one that says date of birth. And let's see if there's any other. And then the last plan amount update. Didn't see that one. Oh, last plan amount update. Forget which one, because there is a last plan, but it's not worded like that. Last plan amount. So that's where you could map that one to that one. All it's missing is the word update. And then now, let me see, I think there's any more that haven't been mapped. And now that you're basically here, you can hit next. And if there's any problem rows, it's going to show up in red. So what I like to do, instead of going through all of these different pages, is basically just select here this show all rows button and show invalid rows only. And if it says right here to you, no data is found, that means that there is no rows, right? And that also means, if we look at these ones, the spheres or the plans offered chosen, where are they? They show up. Because if they didn't, you would then, this would show red, and you would have to go through the list and you would have to figure out, oh, I didn't paste those into there. I didn't save those. So you would have to obviously go back and make that change first, add them before you could then not get these to error out. So with that said, it's better that you do that when I showed you in the beginning. But yeah, now that you have no rows, all your data is good. You can basically hit submit. I'm not going to do that because then it's just going to upload a bunch of fake stuff. And so after that, you'll get another little thing that'll say it's uploading, and then you'll get another page when it comes back to this saying that I think the way that it words, it says that it's uploaded already, but that's not the case. If you're uploading a couple hundred, a couple 40, it'll still take a couple of minutes. If you're doing, let's say, a handful of contacts, it could definitely take, 15, 20 minutes. What you really want to look for is an email in your inbox. You're going to get an email from Sparky that says your data was uploaded. Let me see if I can, let me see if I can get a copy. Have any, well, since Jolene's in the meet, I'll show her the one that we were doing from yesterday, but this is kind of how it will look. It'll tell you how many rows of data you entered, and then it'll tell you how many contacts were created. So obviously, if it says 132, you want this to say 132, but if it doesn't, it'll tell you these are the contacts that failed on upload, and then you have this little file. And if you click here, it'll download the Excel file with that information. So then you can go basically line by line, compare it to the file that you used to upload, possibly highlight those contacts, see what it was. So when uploading groups, there's the case where the same person is the same contact person for multiple groups. So if that's the case, then you want to change the phone number by 1 digit, and you want to change the email by 1 digit. And so by simply putting in a 1 or a character that's accepted, whether if in the email, I guess the phone number, you would have to change the digit, but you would have to change the digit or omit that information, right? Don't put the phone number, change the email. If the name is the same, then put just a number, and then you can re-push that information back into the system, and then it will basically accept it, and then you can just go back and find those contacts and make changes in our CRM, and then it'll allow them to live with the same name and that kind of stuff. So, or you can make those changes, like if you know about it prior, you can make those changes and just put, kind of like filter all the duplicates, and then just put a number in front of all of them from the beginning. And then you won't most likely have that problem, but you'll have to remember to go back in there and make changes. If not, the emails won't go and the phone numbers will be obviously wrong. But that is uploading members. I hope it's straightforward as much as possible. But if anybody does have any questions, if anybody is going to be doing this, definitely send me a message, an email, so that we can get together. And if I can do any babysitting, right, I am here to help. I would rather have it, I'd rather babysit a little bit, do it a couple of times with you, get the hang of it, and then cut you loose. Once you do it a couple of times, you kind of get the gist for it. And since it's going to be something that you're going to be doing relatively consistent, depending on how you want to keep your accounts updated, and then how much business you obviously write. Obviously, you're going to be doing this frequently, and so you'll pretty much get the hang of it through repetition. But in the first couple of times, I know it's going to be like, am I doing it correctly? But yeah, definitely let me know how I can help with it, and that's what I'm here for. I don't know if there's any questions that anybody has. Nikki?
I have a quick question. I just started using it for texting.
Okay.
And so I created the category for the different text blasts that I have.
Okay.
But like it's not allowing me to search by those. It only has like the set categories that are in there.
So when you
a way for me to fix that?
Where did you set up the different categories for texting? Is it different folders for the messages, or?
That's where I have the messages at, but like on each person, I put it in where you have, I forget what it's called. So where you put the reference or whatnot.
Is it within one of these categories?
Yeah.
Okay, so like the referral source, or?
No, not the referral source, but kind of like where you would bucket people together.
Okay. sales cycle status or the
No,
status?
scroll down
Here,
more.
the spheres.
Spheres. But so like what I'm calling them is not one of those spheres. So when I go to filter them, it's saying like filter all others. Is there a way where I can get them to be one of these to where it will filter by those?
Yes, you can obviously create new spheres with those
Yeah,
names.
which I did. But then
Okay,
when I go to filter, like to find them, they're not pulling up on those, the filter items. It's pulling up like
let's take
anything else.
filters. So that would
So like
either,
filtering by spheres. Yeah. So if you click on spheres,
okay, spheres, 1 second. So you can do whether if it's empty or not empty, but if you created the category, it should be here to where you can then check it and then you can
okay.
filter
So
it.
maybe there's something that I need. I'm missing something where it's not pulling up there.
That's,
'Cause I can't
yes.
filter by that. It's only filtering by, okay, anything else besides those ones.
So what I would do is, if you have a moment, I don't know if you have any emails from me, but schedule a time with me through my calendar link, and then
Okay.
we can kind of look at these things. And if you have any other kind of issues, or to understand what you're trying to do, maybe I can kind of give you an
A
easy
different
way.
way.
Yeah, a different way, an easy way, just because there's many different ways to skin the cat when it comes to sending out communications, whether if it's something that you want to see, like, let me show you, like with categories. So if you had those messages created an action plan, even though they're just an action plan with one item, you could essentially have your spheres. So when you're looking at your spheres and you see them applied, if you see the sphere applied and it's tied to an action plan, that means that that person got that message, right? And it would be a way that you could then see, oh, okay, this person got it. There's also this one here, action plans. So for every action plan that you have used on these contacts, it'll actually show right here. So if you have a bunch of action plans with a bunch of communications with them, it'll show up. So if you were using a retention campaign, it would show up. If let's say you had a customer that you loaded and then they went a couple of years and then they pre-canceled, so you used the pre-cancel action plan, you would see that they had the member retention and they had the pre-cancel. And so ways to view it from here at like a bird's eye, instead of having to go into each and every person and kind of looking to kind of see what went on. And so if that's what you want, then definitely set up some time with me so I can show you the best way to kind of achieve that kind of visual, with your data and not having to comb through your leads one by one. Or you can
Perfect.
use filters so that you can see who got what and that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Great. Thank you. This
absolutely.
has been very informative today.
Thank you. I try to bring something to the table every Thursday in which you guys can, use. And tell me, Bill.
I just wanted to put out to everybody, Cassie left. I'm
Yep.
going to tell her. But
Gotta run. Thanks for everything. Is what she said.
Yeah,
So.
I do a lot of bank draft because I do a lot of first responders. Anybody else on there do bank draft apps, self-pay? Okay, just so you know, and it's being worked on, you can't put bank draft in the new Shield at work unless you have the security code on the back of the credit card. But since the application doesn't ask for it, I never get the security code, so you have to use the old Shield at work. And I'm working with Ross. We're working on it. I just wanted to let people know since the people in here are groupies.
That's for sure.
Because we don't collect it when we're doing an enrollment, but if a person's on your website doing it, it requires it of them because they have their credit card with them, they can do it. But cops get very suspicious when you ask them for things that are not on the app. Why do you need that? It doesn't ask for it.
Great to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
All right.
All righty, everybody. Well, it was a pleasure. If you guys have any issues, right, you guys know where to find me. Please reach out to me instead of losing your hair or changing your hair color through stress. Reach out to me and I'll do my best to help you with what you need.
You mean the stress will change my hair color back?
I wish it could. I used to be a little bit more colored. Now it's just getting I'm getting to my platinum era, which, I'm gonna have to embrace with all will. So,
Hey, Bill,
but
just be thankful you have hair.
Yeah, well, I still am, but it's thinning.
it is.
Hey, listen, you know what? I'm sure there are people who just kill for that head of hair of yours.
Hey, at 21, I was 19 and I lost it. So I've had to embrace the Michael Jordan for a long time now. And the only thing it works good for is at the pool. Everything else, especially being down here with the sun, oh my God, 15 minutes
There's
in
a
the sun.
t-shirt you can find, Jeremy, that says God only made so many perfect heads. On the rest, he put hair. So you just get yourself that t-shirt.
There you go. There you go. Well, it was a pleasure, guys. You guys have a great day now.
Take care.
Thank you.
Hi,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.